All right, Baltimore Ravens. We're on to the AFC North. Ravens start with Zay Flowers at pick 22, the wide receiver out of Boston College. Their second-round pick went to Chicago, right, in the Roquan Smith deal. Trenton Simpson, the linebacker out of Clemson, round 3 with pick 86. Tavius Robinson, edge out of Ole Miss. And then Kyu Blue Kelly, cornerback out of Stanford in round 5. I've never said this Oregon guy's name. In round 6, developmental tackle, though. And then Andrew Voorhees, guard out of USC, in round 7.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of the Ravens draft, Sam?
I think it was an unusual draft for them. This didn't seem to be the typical Baltimore Ravens draft.
This is the first time I have not loved the Ravens draft in years. And I think it's in part, I may have, from a modeling standpoint, I may have stumbled into some similarities to what the Ravens have found.
You reverse engineered the Ravens process. Is that what you're saying?
I have not reverse engineered a process that is far more sophisticated than my process. All I'm saying is a lot of the numbers I pull out say, hey, look at this guy that the Ravens drafted in the 3rd or 4th round who ended up being pretty good. That's happened a bunch. And they didn't draft those guys this year. They didn't draft model guys this year in the 3rd round. I thought they were going to stick to that.
So you're trying to say that maybe Baltimore hates their own draft? They're the one team. You know, you cut to the camera and everyone's like, yeah, woo. And Baltimore's like, God, that was another one that didn't really go that great. The numbers don't love that guy.
There may have been people in the building who were like, no, they're not listening to us now.
Just off camera as the bunch of guys that power the model and data, they're all like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, that could have happened. I don't know. Starting with Zay Flowers at 22. I'll admit, I mean, this should be a good fit with the Ravens. I think, the thing I wanted to mention about Addison, I think Jordan Addison with the Vikings has to become the number 2 right away as soon as possible.
Yep.
With Justin Jefferson, Zay Flowers, and the other receivers in the first round, I think can start off as a 3rd or 4th option. And for Zay Flowers with the Ravens, much like the Chiefs, this offense should create some space and let him work. And I think that could be a really nice fit for him creating some explosive plays here for Baltimore.
Yeah, you were talking about Zay Flowers, the fit being Kansas City for him. Like he's a more valuable player in that Kansas City offense because of what he can do there and how that system suits him. I think that Baltimore is a great fit for him as well. I don't love Zay Flowers, the player. Neither of us did. For me, pick number 22 is high. It's higher than he should go. But I love that fit. And I'm excited to see what he can be because, the bottom line with all this stuff is a wide variety of opinions are perfectly acceptable for a player. Like this is not a science. Everybody's hitting 30% as a strike rate. So the fact that the same player can be viewed as, can he be anything really more than a Dante Hall slot receiver adjusted for 2023 inflation, or a bunch of other people, like multiple other people saying, this is Antonio Brown 2.0 on the field, So the fact that 2 different people can come to those extremes of conclusion on the same guy is fascinating to me. So I'm really intrigued and interested to see what Zay Flowers becomes. Like he's one of the most interesting players to watch now in the first couple of years for me because the opinions on him were so wildly divergent.
So, and then the Ravens are another team. They only picked 6 times for a team that last year at this time was trading Marquise Brown for an extra first. Last year they got Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum in the first round, both high-end model guys who became very good. But 2 first-rounders, right? And then in the second round and third round, they're getting all these, David Ojabo. So, he's part of this draft class maybe, Sam, coming off of his injury. Travis Jones. They're getting all these guys who could have gone in the first, were mocked to go in the first. And, this year just didn't feel like that as much because they didn't pick as often or whatever it may have been. But I Zay Flowers to go with Rashad Bateman and Odell Beckham, to go with Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. Now we're talking. Now I'm looking forward to see what Todd Monken can do with this offense, how it changes, how much they still tap into Lamar the runner versus trying to distribute to what looks like maybe the best group of pass catchers that they've had. There was a point a couple years ago where it looked like it could have been strong, but then guys got hurt and everything. They might be back on track, though, from a pass catcher standpoint, depending on how well OBJ comes back and what Zay Flowers becomes. But I think he's explosive and he's good after the catch, and the Ravens will give him an opportunity to tap into those skills. Trenton Simpson in the 3rd. I think that's a good, solid pick. There was people that had him going as high as the first round to the Bills for whatever that's worth.
Yep.
And then Simpson's going to come in. He's going to replace Patrick Queen, who they did not pick up the fifth-year option on Patrick Queen. So Simpson comes in, probably starts in 24, add some depth here. And I think he needs the time to develop. He's very, very fast. Sprints fast in a straight line. But much like Patrick Queen and some of the other developmental linebackers over the last couple of years, it's very similar. A feel for zone coverage is not there. Overall feel for football playing isn't there, but the potential is because the athleticism is there. So Simpson's good in the third, right? At pick 86, I like that value-wise. Beyond that, I'm not sure that there's a day 3 pick that I love. Like Tavius Robinson I don't know where he was on the consensus, but...
You don't love Voorhees?
No, Voorhees is good. That's good.
I think that's, 7th round for... Okay, he tore his ACL on the...
I'm sorry, that is potentially stealing a future starter on the offensive line in round 7 because of the injury. That is really smart by the Ravens. I like that a lot.
So we've said this before, I think, but the story for him is insane. Like, he tore his ACL on the field and the combine during the drills, went down, and it didn't look good right away, and it came out he did, in fact, tear his ACL. So that's bad for anybody, let alone an offensive lineman. He then stayed there. Like, he tore his ACL. They stuck his leg in one of those, long, full-length cast things. He used crutches to hobble his way out to the bench press, sat down on the bench press, dangled that one wrecked leg off the side of it, and then rep 225 pounds 38 times, which is like, I think that was the highest of anybody at the combine that year. And as that's an insane total generally. That's one of the better numbers you're going to see from anybody. That on its own would have me I would draft him in the 7th round if that's all I knew about him. All I knew was that story. I'm taking that guy in the 7th round. I want, in a league that still values the grit test.
Loves ball, baby.
Is there anything more gritty than that? No, I'm not going to go home and get medical attention. I'm going to strap it up. I'm going to bench 38 times with a leg hanging off the side of it. But he's also a good player. In 2021, he had a 90-plus PFF grade. He's given up 2 sacks in the last 2 years.
He's a good player.
Yeah, he's a versatile, good player that could easily be a starting guard for the Ravens, in a year's time. Again, a 2024 pick with obvious determination and grit.
That's an outstanding pick. I apologize. That's a great pick at 229. Should always want to make that pick because they may have stolen a starter. The Ravens do good at stealing starters. The Morgan Moseses of the world and just grabbing starters on the cheap, and I think Voorhees has a chance to be that guy.
And also, it's the perfect, in the 7th round, if your concern about a guy is, he's torn his ACL, he might not play this year. All right. I don't need him in this year. If I can get him in the 7th round, the only downside is he's going to play 2024 and beyond. That's fine.
So that was a good pick there. I like that. Tavius Robinson, the edge in round 4. I don't know where he was on the consensus, Sam, but that seemed higher than expectation. Developmental edge, 6'6", 257, ran fast. Didn't have great production at any point in his career. But
212.
212?
Yep.
So they got him about 100 picks, almost 100 picks higher than expectation. Do with that what you want. Okay draft by the Ravens. We gave it a B over at PFF.com.